Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you. Hey everyone, Joshua Hanlon here at Brickworld Chicago 2023, and we are taking a look at this massive LEGO Fortress layout. This was built by several different builders, so we've got the first one here if you want to tell me your name and then give us an overview of what this is.
Yes, my name is Jean Bédard and I'm a French-Canadian from Quebec City, Canada. And I'm the project leader of the Louisburg project. So this is the reconstruction of an actual fortified town called Bibeau, in actual Nova Scotia, Canada. But at that time, in 1745, it was a French town. So we were in the heart of New France. So this is the project. And
that's fantastic. This thing is so massive, so we'll kind of make our way around here. If you want to maybe start with this section out here that's closest to us, and then we'll start taking a look at everything.
Yeah, sure. So this is what we call a half bastion. So it's the Dauphin bastion, like the first son of a king. It was the main land entrance of the fortress. So you can see here the gate. So everybody that is coming to the town was crossing this gate. There were guards in the entrance, and it is a typical bastion with cannons. And the special thing with this place is that there's a circular battery there that would lock entirely the whole harbor and protect the city from incoming British ships. So we have to remember that there was no United States at that time. It was the 13 colonies. So no offense with the British, okay?
Was the real fort itself ever involved in any conflicts?
So yes, in fact, the town had two sieges. Was a siege twice by the British. One in 1745, so this year represented, and another time in 1758 at the end of the French and Indian War. And the French obviously lost the town twice. But not without a fight, and one of the siege lasts 45 days, which is pretty long. Yeah.
So this section is fantastic. You sort of see more of the fortress idea with all the cannons. Then once you're inside the town, what do you have here?
So here, once you're inside the walls, there's a lot of activity going on. Obviously, there's military everywhere because it was half of the men in the city were military. So you have regular soldiers called Compagnie Franche de la Marine, the ones in white. And then you have canonniers bombardiers who were operating the guns, who are in blue or red. And the red ones are not redcoats, they are French soldiers, but they have a red uniform anyway.
Are these custom minifigures, or where did you get the parts and accessories and all this for?
So yeah, so all of the minifigs are custom. We printed our own stickers, and we painted the tricorn hats to fit maximum with the actual uniform.
Very impressive work. So you also have all of this water out here. We can talk about some of the ships here before we move back onto land.
Yes. So Louisburg was a very busy port. There was over 20 ships at any moment in the bay. And so we try to show people a lot of activity on the harbor. So there's a lot of bark going on, bringing stuff to the biggest ship and bringing back goods from Europe and stuff like that. Also, Louisburg was a big fishery port. There was a lot of fishing, and that's a reason why the New Englanders besieged the town in 45. Because it was making bad business for the fishery, because it was easier for people with the large fish banks in the Atlantic to come here instead of Boston.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear kind of the history, the economics, and how these types of forts would get caught up in those different conflicts in between the different countries. So as we move back onto land, what is this first section, kind of a large section right here?
Yeah, so all of the buildings that are, the roof are dark bluish gray, they are royal buildings. So their roof were made of slates and not of wood. So we have here the general store, the King's store, where all of the goods that comes from Europe for the governor and that kind of stuff, they were stuck there. We have the artillery depot over there, and also a bakery at the end of the block. And you also have the special house on the corner there with the gardens in the back. This is the engineer's house. So the engineer And the fortified town was the single most important person because he was the only one who understand everything, the role of every part of a fortifications.
Very impressive. We'll keep moving through the town then. What do we have on the next block?
So on the next blocks, it's another, mostly housing. You can notice with the camera on the back, there is vegetable gardens everywhere because they had to grow their own food because, supply from Europe was only during summer. So they had to grow food enough to survive the winter, right? And the biggest building with the dark red chimneys was the Commissaire Ordonnateur house. So that was the guy who had all of the money from the kings. And the story tells that he really spent money for his own purpose instead of helping the colony. So probably the fortification would have been more completed on the first siege if he hasn't spent money for himself.
Some not so great leadership here.
Yeah, exactly. Well.
And as we keep moving down here, we can see some more ships in the water and then also more buildings. So what does this ship represent?
So this ship is a brick. So it's a brick made out of bricks. So this one is currently preparing for leaving the town, and there's a small bark there that is bringing provisions and gunpowders and stuff like that to resupply the ship before it leaves for France. Yeah. So you will notice also you'll see white flags. It's not that the town is surrendering. So the French flag at that time was a white flag with a white cross on it, because he was a great Christian and he was a pure Christian. That's why the flag is white with a white cross.
Very interesting. As we move back to land, then I see more gardens and more buildings, even some like market stalls set up.
Exactly. So the funny thing with the spot here, where the market is it was the church. So since the beginning of the founding of this town, a church was supposed to be built there, but it was never built. And instead we put market because we thought it was the church place. And I guess people would stick around and gather together, even if there was no church. So we built a market, and with a lot of people coming around instead.
Are there interiors on any of the buildings, or just the facades?
No, there's no interior. No, it's ugly inside. All of pink and magenta.
There you go. Whatever colors you need to fill in everything.
Exactly. That's it.
Perfect. Well, as we keep moving down, we can go on to our next collaborator here then. So if you want to tell us your name and then talk about your section.
Yeah, I'm Francis Bibeau. I'm from Quebec, Canada, and part of the project. So here we have more of a commercial block with the crane, the wheel crane. Here we have the battery, battery right there. And we have the house of the guard here. So as you can see, a lot happening here. It's a really big point here of where people gather. There's also guys right there that steal from the merchant and is taking the day there, just hanging there on the pole. Yep. There's live music too around. So there's a guys there on the pole, but right beside it there's kid playing live music.
All forms of entertainment.
That's it. Yeah. you like live music or seeing guys hanging there? Yeah. So this is for this part. This is mostly storehouse and our stores. This block here, we have a construction site here. What's funny about that, guys, is that guy's booked a small piece of land and start building his house on it. But the thing is, his neighbors say, "Hey, you're on my land." And he had stopped building it, and the guy's selling his land feet by feet over 1 or 2 years. So we have to do that scene there too. Yeah.
So that's based on a true story. That's all bit. Wow. Okay.
Actually, it's not 70-45. Okay, so it's more 70-40, but for the story we have
general time period.
Yeah. You have to put it there because the story is too good. Yeah. If you go back here, we have. The wheel here, the crane wheel, actually really working. Want me to show you?
Oh, I love it. Very nice.
It's rolling.
It's all fueled by the guy inside there.
Yeah. This is a real wheel that existed back then. We put it there. If you go, cannon, been delivered to the battery for cannon change.
We can kind of walk around here a bit then and look at it from the other side. As we move around, you can see kind of how they transported the artillery, cannons, all this stuff here.
Yeah, so they are lazy. They don't want to bring a cannon by hand, so they take oars. I'll do the same thing to it. And so this is it. We have a guys here in the tower doing the wash.
And I like how you've captured this. So forts from this era always have this like very narrow kind of walkway out to the tower there. So that's something you see a lot.
Yeah. That was quite hard to build the angle with this to make sure it fit properly. I did my best. There's a few like spots here that you can see through, but I try my best not to have a lot of those. Yeah.
And you got this nice kind of gentle slope down to the water. So of course they would have built up these fortifications. You get the angled brick walls on the outside and using all the build up earth as kind of, defensive fortifications.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah. Right here you have a bird that misses shot. Next time, man. Keep going. Yeah, this is it. Right here we have a section of soldier that are doing around the fortress, delivering wood here because you need a lot of stuff. So I put a lot of here like plank, wood log for fences. There's a pile of rock there that they use for the fortification.
Building materials,
building material and still building material coming from the. Do we have a saw? Oh, I don't know how to say it. In Syria?
Like a warehouse or?
No, where they cut wood, plank, and what did
like a lumber yard, yes.
Lumber yard, yes. So that guys come from lumber yard to bring stuff there. Huh?
And what is happening back here?
So yeah, this is garden. This is more where people live. So the gardening in Louisburg, it was hard when they first get there, but they plan. They do a lot of work to make sure that they have
food and supplies.
Food and supply, but how to do because it didn't grow at first, so they have to. They were pretty brilliant doing their
agriculture and all of that's farming.
Yep.
Yeah, Is this the end of your section, or do you have more here?
No, I have more over there, okay. But
we'll come back to that later on. Then, thank you. So we've got another builder here. If you want to tell us your name and then talk about your section.
Yeah. So hi, Josh. I'm Louis from Kellogg, Quebec LEGO User Group. So we've rebuilt different sections. So here we have the King's Hospital, where actually sailors and soldiers could be healed. It was manned by monks. So we see, I've done a lot of the custom minifigs. So most of the minifigs that you see are actually my design, the soldiers and everything. So they were custom made by me and my friends, obviously. So King's Hospital, a big garden here because my friend explained that Louisburg was almost always on the brinks of starvation because most of the food supply was provided by France, some from Acadia also, and some from Quebec. But by the spring, they were always looking out for those ships, those big ships that you saw to resupply the colony. So most of the inhabitants cultivated some gardens, and the hospital was, according to the plans that we've seen, had one of the largest gardens besides the King's Garden. So they grow food here. They had a little, you see over there, that's a farm. Here they had a bakery. Mainly to do some breads for the hospital, and also they had a laundromat to clean. You see some clothing here. So and I've built also some of the city over there. That lot over there, that's lot number 14. So each lot were numbered, and through the historical research that you'll see here, we were able to kind of reverse engineer based on the prints that we saw. There was always an engineer standing at the city because it was a large fortification. They were continually building the city. And this is what allowed us, this is all online, what we could find. This is what allowed us to essentially rebuild the houses based on the style, based on the construction technique. That's how we made it up. Because a lot of it has not been rebuilt.
So what's there today is not as extensive as what you guys built here.
We probably more than doubled the size of what's being reconstructed at the National Historic Site in Louisburg.
And you can see some of those, what you were talking about here with some of these records
Exactly.
and architectural details.
Exactly. So those are the actual drawings from Verrier, which was the chief engineer at the time. Most of the era between 1720 up to 1745, Verrier was the chief engineer. So he built and designed most of the actual fortification, and many of the city houses as well.
Here's kind of a broader map here as well, so you can see kind of the general layout and these different blocks that you guys have represented here.
Exactly, and as you see the layout also of the houses. So we knew about the function of the house, we knew who was the owner of the house, what they were doing, and we had the layout of the surface occupied by the house. So this is how we were able to, I think, very accurately rebuild a lot of the houses and the buildings that were in that fortress.
That's incredible. I love the level of research that you guys all did here to bring this to life.
We did a lot. We did a lot of research, yes.
So is there more in your section or move on?
Over there, but yeah.
Well, we'll come around to that later on then. So we have our fourth builder. If you want to tell us your name and let's see what you have.
Ouais, my name is Francis St-Germain, and I build this block here. Is a convent from Louisburg, and we know we have three sisters in the convent, and actually is is not at Louisburg in this. It's not in Louisburg. It's the destroy. Here we have another block I built, the brewery here, and it's a big block is much house. The other block right there with the big house is rich people who live here, and I built this garden here, the Jardin Royal, and this garden served to
The soldiers and the...
Okay, so this garden was for maybe not necessarily individual houses, but just generally for soldiers and people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why it's kind of out here on its own.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I like all the different flowers and plants represented here in the garden. So you've got lots of different stuff that they're growing.
Yeah. Yeah, we have pumpkins, sunflower, carrot. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, excellent work. Yeah. Thank you. So we come now to, we should mention, what is this section out here?
So this is actually the Place d'Armes. It was also called Place Royale. It was the main place for the city. This is where they held public hearings. This is also where the soldiers paraded. So what you have here is the garrison was made up during the 1750 or 1745. Actually, this is the era, the date that we depict. The garrison was about 650 strong. 3/4 of the soldiers were the white ones, what we called French Compagnie Franche de la Marine, so independent marine companies. And they had also the red ones that you see are actual Swiss mercenaries. They were the Swiss Carrère Regiment. They were headquartered in France, in Rochefort, which was the main port, but they had a detachment here. So I've built this, and the main place within the city, this is what actually is called the fort itself. It's the King's Bastion. So the King's Bastion was always the largest bastion in every French cities. Here you have the bastion is one of the highest bastion. It's the highest bastion within the city. If you look, it's actually 4 inches higher than the sea level that you see in front. And the barrack was actually to serve as a stronghold, a defensive position, if the city was ever to fall. It was never actually, and you see casemates also. There was casemates. Okay, so it's the same in English. To protect citizens, the big red doors that you see at the end of both of the sides of the bastion, they were going down, and it was to protect the citizens during bombing.
So this was sort of the last line of defense, where if everything else fell.
Yeah. The barrack, so what you see, the building is actually a barrack. It was to house the 650 soldiers within the city. It was told that many of the soldiers during the summer, they prefer to sleep outside on the walls than inside, because inside it was very humid and very cold. In the winter, they had no choice. They slept in. As you see, there's many chimneys. But in the summer, because of all the vermins, all the the rats and the bugs that there was inside and that humidity, a lot of people were said to prefer to sleep outside. So here that side had the governor. So the governor led the colony from a political and military perspective. So this whole building was occupied by him, his family, and his servants. The rest, as you see, the other section was the chapel. So there was no church in Louisburg. They tried from the beginning to have a church. They wanted to raise a tax, and no one never agreed to the taxation. So maybe it was a premonitory of the American Revolution already in Louisburg. You had that sense of independence. So the fishermen and the town inhabitants didn't want to pay tax. So they used the chapel from the barrack to have religious ceremonies. So essentially, that's it. Had its own. So as the governor was obviously occupying a prominent position within the town, so it had its own farm within the walls of the bastion. So I could have everything fresh meat, eggs, etc. To maintain the style, the lifestyle also of the governor.
Exactly. Well, thank you. Excellent work there. So this has been a great tour kind of all the way around, but we do have one other element. So if this wasn't enough, there's actually another section that represents kind of an island that was near the fort here, correct? So explain kind of how this ties in.
Yeah, so exactly. There was, aside from the city, there was an island that they built a battery on it to protect the entrance of the harbor in Bibeau. So you can see the battery was facing the deep sea where the ships would come in. So you have a lot of activity, a lot of guns, another circular battery that could cover any angles, wide angles to detect and attack incoming ships. At the back, there's a very small building. This is the powder building. So this is where they put all of the gunpowder.
You don't want a shell hitting that building.
Exactly. But the thing is, if you look at behind of the buildings, it's heavily protected by the rocks. So they only have to protect the other side of it, because the natural rocks would do a good job for protecting it. And we read that this island was supplied by foot, because when the tide was low, they would be able to walk with horses and carts and bring supplies to the island. The life on the island was like a soldier would do 24 hours of service, and then they would be relayed by another company, day long like that. And in front of the island, you have two ships that I built. There's the biggest one is frigate. It's based on l'Hermione, which was the frigate of Lafayette, which you guys American might know, I think. So this is a standard 36-gun frigate with full realist rigging and sails. And you have a small British schooner here that is coming to town to do some trading, probably, or gather some information for the siege that the New Englanders will do, in a couple of months. So they're probably spies.
So this is amazing, just the level of research you've done here and the level of detail. Do you know what the size is of this whole layout here?
So in base plates, it's 438 base plates, excluding the water. So the water base plate are not inside it. So it's pretty big, yes.
Did you guys try to keep track of the number of pieces in the layout at all?
We do have stats. How many buildings we have? Yeah, okay, so we have about 88 buildings, a lot of small buildings like dependencies and stuff, hundreds of gardens, We haven't counted the minifigs, but we have at least 150 minifigs each. So there's probably like 600 minifigs on the layout. Cannons, there's a lot of cannons. Some are brick built, and the other are classic Lego cannons. There's more than 100 cannons, of course. Yeah.
Very well fortified here. So what is people's reaction when they see this layout? Because it's so big and it's so detailed, and there's just kind of so much to take in here.
Well, yeah, we get very, very good comments. People are impressed because of its size, and we are also impressed because we don't get to see it like that very often. It took us a long time, hours and hours, to have it on the tables, and they appreciate also the everything that we are telling you right now. The historical facts and explanation about the city and why they were doing this and that. So I think they appreciate the commitment and the historical value of this project. Yeah.
Can people still visit the real fort today? Is that a site that you can visit?
Yes, exactly. So it's they have reconstructed a part of the city in the 60s and the 90s. In the 60s and the 70s. Today it's an historical site, a living history museum. And it's a great attraction in Nova Scotia right now. So I encourage you to go there one day.
Yes, I need to. I've never been there, so this is a good excuse. I love visiting fortresses.
And a good moment to visit the fortress would be next summer in 2024, because we will bring the layout up there, and it's going to sit in the museum there for the whole summer of 2024. So that would be a great occasion for you.
Fantastic. Well, great work here. Thank you to you and all the builders here involved here. This is an incredible layout. I'm so glad you were able to put in all this work and bring it out to Brickworld and get this all set up for us. So how long did it take you guys to set this up?
So I've started 3 years ago with some houses and getting the rules and the norms to be fit. And then the other members, they came here 2 years ago. So it's basically a 2-year work. And yes, that's it.
There we go. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.